trying to get rolling early this morning. Pretty big day planned. We'll be sitting on top of Tincup by the sign sometime this afternoon. Just trying to get everything ready. Some gear. We got a lot of volunteers showing up, working at 12,000 feet, in the sun, and see if we can get everybody drinks and stuff together and start heading up to the Grizzly lot for staging. We're at the Grizzly parking area. Doing pretty good. We got about 15 people so far. Got the Broncos representing now anymore in the crew. We've got like 3 of them out today. So we'll see who else shows up, do a quick safety meeting, and we'll get it going. Real quick, when we get up there, Sean, in this vehicle, we'll throw that awning out. We brought a lot of water. We've got sunscreen. We've got a first aid kit, an AED. We'll have chairs. We'll have everything in the second vehicle right behind where we're working. So nobody needs to be a hero. Don't kill yourself. There's plenty of snow for everybody. We're not in a rush. It's not a race. We're not timing it. So, put sunscreen on when you're in the middle of the snow. Not only are we at 12,000 feet, but you're right standing in the middle of a snow field. So it's just like you're on a ski slope that those ultraviolet rays will reflect right back at you. So pay attention to that. Make sure that you're drinking water. You can come back, sit in the shade for a minute. Just take your time. All right. We just don't want anybody to overexert themselves. Pretty much the only hazard is obviously we're working with tools in front of you, and there could be people trying to walk behind you to get back and forth. So if you're walking behind somebody, make sure they know that you're there before you cross behind them. And if you're shoveling and you're throwing stuff behind you, just be aware of who's next to you, how close they are, and who could be walking behind you. We wouldn't want somebody to catch a shovel right in the face. Quiet so far in St. Elmo. This is usually pretty popular with feeding the chipmunks over there on the left. Once the day really gets going. We're just about to come out of the trees here at Sawmill Hill, and I haven't been up here in several days, but this will give us our first shot at looking at the summit. There it is. That drift is still pretty big. It's going to take
I can see the edge of the road. I bet that's completely doable.
It's going to take a good effort today. And here we are. That's what it looks like from the driver's seat. When you pull up, we'll get out and take a better look. Chipping a section out. It'll get better as it heats up. That's why we don't usually start earlier. And then I'll just start going like this, and then just start cutting it back. And you can throw it in the road. It doesn't really matter. Oh no, I would go clear to, we'll probably have to space all the way out through here. Start working that, and then keep on going. That's just kind of what I do, because like if we get it back to like here, then you can dig that inside edge down. We'll just plow a tire through there, and and even if you like, as we're going through, if you're like hitting it hard with your passenger side tire, it'll push it back. We'll go walk through these guys really quick as I'm snaking my way behind them, making sure they see me and don't get hit with a shovel or snow. Chipping that out like that. Pretty good. So the first part here, we just have to cut this back enough for a little bit of width there. As long as you get enough people together, it goes. Yeah, Grant's having fun already, right, Grant? And then once you get up here, road bends around and widens it out. But then in front of where my man Luke is, that's where it really gets kind of difficult up there where it's clear across the road. So, and if you watch my other video a week prior, I said you had to sit. These rocks were barely out of the snow, this rock outcropping. And, you know, I told you to get a good shot at doing this. We had to be able to sit right there and then be able to get that outside edge all the way up there. And that's what we got today. So see if we can do it. We kind of explained it a little bit in a couple videos, but let me show you what we do. We leave some of this snow like this. We don't necessarily have to shovel all that. We'll go in and cut a ledge, you know, through, and then just start chipping it back to that ledge that you cut. And then that way you get a track in there.
Gas tank doesn't work since I hit it on that trail. I was gonna more than that. It has a new gas tank, but
We're getting somewhere. We'll move the Jeep up a little bit. Bank's tall. Look at Jim right there. How tall are you, Jim?
5'10".
5'10". Look at that. We're almost over 5 foot there at the bank. So we're getting there. All right, we're making progress. Check and see if it's wide enough for vehicles. Get up in here. Oh yeah. I think we're more than good. Making some headway. I'll walk down through what we've done so far. If I turn around, you see the Jeep, and then this guy's working in front of us. And I'm going down to get a Gatorade down here that we brought up for the crew, but you can see how much snow has already been cut all the way down through here. Pretty good so far. I mean, they've only been working for a little over an hour and a half. We started at 9. So, and this is a pretty big edge. You saw the height of that earlier, 5 foot high or so. That's a pretty good edge for guys working with tools by hand. But yeah, we're making pretty good headway. Sometimes people ask us why we do this. Why do you come up and open trails? Why don't you just let them melt out naturally? And one, it's a nice day. I mean, look at the views behind me. It is absolutely a beautiful day in the Colorado Mountains. There's never a bad day out. You know, I live a short distance from this trail, so it's like I have to travel a long way, so it's always a good excuse to get out. These trails are only open for 3, maybe 4 months out of the year, so even a couple weeks is a big deal to get a trail open early. Sometimes it's a safety issue. Turn the camera around, you can see. So right down there about where that shovel is, last year a vehicle went off, went clear down into the bottom, and the shelf road had melted out enough that it looked like maybe you could get around the snow, but then it narrowed up substantially. So the vehicle drove up, got too narrow, and they tried to back up, and they dropped a tire off and ended up clear down there in the bottom. And that was the day before we opened it, unfortunately. So, we don't want people to do that. But with that said, even with us opening this, there's always a safety issue. I mean, you're always taking risks. The risks don't change when you're out here, no matter what. Whether we cut this open, somebody could get too close to the edge and fall off. They could do it before we open it. Even when all the snow's melted, this is a shelf road. There's people that get too close and have problems. So we do open it, we make it passable. At least we know you could get a full-size vehicle up here, and then, if people aren't, assessing their skills or making good decisions, that's unfortunately sometimes what happens in the backcountry. But the second one is it sometimes is a resource issue. So right over here in this snowbank, right there, people will come up the other side. This will be closed, and they'll drive down that snowbank and hit that old road right down there in the bottom, and then go over there and connect with the switchback. And so this quite simply will keep people on the road. If they come up the other side, no matter what they do, they'll stay on the road. That's kind of the goal, is we want people not to have to make a good or a bad decision. We always want you to make a good decision, obviously, but if we can keep you from having to make a bad decision, that's even better. So for all those reasons, that's why we opened this road. It's a good day out. A lot of good people came out to help us today. Awesome day in the mountains. We've only been at it a couple hours now. We're getting close up here and we'll be up at the sign before we know it. Final stretch. We're about home free, right, Larry? We're about home free. About up there. Look at these guys over here. They're just basking in the sun. Yeah. We talked some other people into shoveling. Thanks, guys.
How are you?
Gary and Sherry. I haven't been on the trail with Gary in a minute, so thanks for coming out. Stromer. We got the Bronco guys out today, which is very nice, representing. Ridge Runners came up from Pueblo, Canyon City area. It's cool. Grant told me his back is hurting today, but you wouldn't know it by the way that he's shoveling.
Ready to go home.
And we're just about there, cutting through the last section. We got the A-team on this side, right? Right, Terry? A-team on that side? Yep. Just about there. We'll be at the summit. I think we're pretty good. That was really good. I mean, it's not even. It's 12:45. We started about 9:15, so couple hours. Man, we had a good crew today. Everybody busted their butts. Worked super hard. And it's what can happen. I'm like hanging out in the mountains with 20 of your closest friends in June. There we go. Everybody rolling up through here. Somebody opened the gate. Tincup's open for the season. There's a bunch of people coming up behind us too already, so we're ready to roll. It's a good thing we're done, because man, it is windy up here today too. Really windy. Pretty good turnout for a project. You get this many vehicles and people to come out, and you got a crazy idea, and you're gonna need a crazy crew. Pretty good turnout. So we get on the other side. This little drift here, cut through this a couple years ago, but you can drive through it, but side-by-sides are just not that great in the snow. We had one stuck in there earlier, now we got another one stuck, so see if we can get that guy out, and then the rest of us can go down and around to the lake. We made it through that snow. We're heading down towards the lake now. Got our group through there, laid down some pretty good tracks. So I think the lake is still probably around 3 feet deep. We're going to go down and look at it. There were some questions, online, some thoughts about, digging out a massive snowdrift like that. As you saw, like a lot of that snow is really hard. You couldn't just like take a plow on the front of a vehicle like you plow snow in the winter and do it. Really what it would need is equipment. And if you watch anything like the 4 counties down in the San Juan, southwestern Colorado, they do it with dozers. And you have to have something big enough and heavy enough and have enough power pushing forward, push out those huge snow fields that are really compacted from the wintertime, freeze-thaw cycles. There's ice layers in those. It takes a lot of power to move through there. So, it's a good thought. Outside of bringing equipment up to actually open a road, then the best other option is just to shovel it out with some friends, and that way it doesn't require permission or anything like that, because we're not using equipment. It's just some the public out on a nice day running a trail. And what the roads in the San Juans are county roads. So the counties actually open those. And the reason they open those is because, they have a tourism season, and that's really now what the economy is based on in small mountain towns is tourism, both summer and winter tourism. And so when winter tourism is over and ski resorts close and things flip over to summer recreation, the counties plow those roads purposely so that, people come there to do the Alpine Loop, to run other trails. And, that is what drives their economy. That's why they do that. We don't have that in central Colorado where the counties participate in that. I mean, we are a tourism-based economy too, but the counties don't open roads for us. So, the next best thing is to get some friends together and go shovel a road open. This is not a county road. This is a Forest Service road. It's a core adopted trail. I mean, if you watch any of our stuff, you've seen us do a ton of work on this route. So this is just a regular Forest Service road. It does have a date on it. There were questions about roads open. How do you know? Do you have to wait till a club opens a road? How do you know you can go on a road? And really what it is some roads have seasonal closures. Those roads are usually managed by gates. And if there is an adopting club, then a lot of times the adopting club will work with the Forest Service. They'll go run the trail, make sure it's open. There's no obstructions, cut trees, do drainage, fix things. And then it opens to the public. But then there's other trails. This is a high mountain pass. It's not just an out and back, and it does have a seasonal closure so that it's over the snow route until May 15th. Then after May 15th, it's open. And that doesn't mean it's fully passable over the top, but you can drive up as far as you can and then back, and it naturally melts out, or it naturally melts most of the way out, and then we help finish the job and open it. So on those types of roads without a gate, or when the gate's already open, like on this one, you can just go up and, run the trail as far as you can until you hit snow and then come back. You don't have to wait for us to tell you, or us to cut out the last drift and tell you that it's officially passable over the top. That's the other thing that's confusing. Open and passable, or partially open. Open means it's available for the public to drive. Like if there is a gate, or there are seasonal dates, or maybe there are no seasonal dates, it means it's open to use. You can go use it. But an open trail or an open pass doesn't mean it's passable over the top. If you were to say Tincup is open and passable over the top now, that would be the most descriptive and accurate statement. The road is open, and now that we cut that out, it is passable over the top. So hopefully that clears some stuff up. It is confusing in Colorado because we call everything a trail, right? Like Tincup's a trail, the Alpine Loop down in the San Juans are trails. So that's just slang. We call everything a trail. But in reality, like a lot of those routes down in the San Juans are county roads. This is a Forest Service maintenance level 2 road, meaning that a stock 4-wheel drive pickup should be able to navigate it for maintenance level 2. Some routes are full-size motorized trails. They actually have a trail classification. So, just kind of depends on what you're talking about. And if it is a county, sometimes counties, do have closures on roads, and the road's not open until they say it's open. And that's when some guys got in trouble on Black Bear last year, where, and Black Bear's difficult too because it's in 2 different counties. So it could be open in one county and closed in the other county, and you don't know. Guy pedaling a bike up on Tincup just passed us working pretty hard. So if, San Miguel County, which is what happened, is the section that goes down into Telluride, did not have their section open and it was closed. So somebody went in on a county road, shoveled it out, and drove down it on a closed road. And it wasn't just closed because it was impassable with snow before they shoveled it out. It was closed because the county had not officially opened it. So the status was closed. This trail is not a county road. This is a Forest Service road. And the only seasonal date was until May 15th when this changes over to wheeled motorized travel. So it's a different situation. And like I said, it gets complicated sometimes in Colorado because people want it to be simple. You know, I just want a simple set of rules, when roads open, when roads aren't open, how and when I can use them. And it's just never going to be that simple because we have county roads, we have Forest Service roads, we have BLM roads, we have Forest Service full-size motorized trails and BLM full-size motorized trails, and then a whole bunch of different types of closures that can go along with them, which is why I try and put out as much information as I possibly can. So if you get info from me or from the core page, you at least have an opportunity to, you know, kind of have a good idea what's going on. We're almost to see what the lake looks like, not quite. But when I put this post up about, you know, people being able to help us and looking for volunteers, there was a guy that commented on the post and he put some pictures up from 1983 of them opening Tincup, out there digging just like, you know, we were. So you're talking, you know, 42 years ago, people were doing the same thing. And there's a front part of a canoe on top of the vehicle in the picture, so they're coming over here to Mirror Lake, and it was really cool that he posted those photos. Our group core, we've been opening Tincup since like 2017. Not every year, sometimes it depends on how the snow melt is and how it times out, but we try and open it every season, much like that, to just kind of carry on the tradition. One of the first passes, fully open passes, that's a four-wheel drive road in central Colorado to open up for summer. So we're down here at Muir now. I'll fly the drone over there and look because there's a dead tree. That dead tree right there is our gauge for that side. And honestly, our gauge for this side is this big rock right here. So this rock on the side of the trail, if you've watched my videos before, you know that if the water line is up there to that rock, then it's real deep. And it gets up there because you can see the debris. You can see where the water line was because it pushed this debris clear up here. And then there's another debris line. If I step back, there's a debris line right there too. So it's well over 40 inches if it's up here by this rock. It's obviously not up there by the rock, and this first section is not very deep. And if the base of that tree over there, fly the drone and look, and if we can get over there, I'll show you when we get over there what it looks like. If the base of that tree is underwater, it's over 40 inches deep, and I won't cross it. Maybe we could if it was an emergency, but I wouldn't voluntarily cross it. If that tree base is out of the water, then we have a good shot at getting across. See if I can get the tire in here so you can see how deep maybe this is, if I can get the tire. This is the deepest part, usually right here on this big corner, I call it. This is the deepest part of the road, right here before you come out of the water. So pretty deep on that tire.
All right, we're good. We're out.
As you're watching the Jeep in the video rolling through the water, the front tires are at 5 psi. To give you an idea how deep this water is, I've set this one to exactly 5 psi. We're on a hard surface. And as you can see, there's a little bit of the tread, top part of the tread, is still out of the water and the tire is never fully submerged. So we're running right around what's 37 on here, right to the very top of the sidewall before it molds into the main part of the tread. It can be deceiving when you're in the water and then just standing outside the water and looking. I mean, people have said, even on the post when we announced that the trail's open and how deep Mirror Lake was, that it was 42 inches, which would be clear up here. You know, that's 3 inches above even the top of the tread of the tire, which on a 42 air down to 30 or 5 psi is about 39 inches here. So 42 would be clear up here. We're definitely not that deep in the water. And then some people have said it's 4 feet deep, which is clear up here. We're definitely not that deep in that lake either. I kind of liken crossing deep water to heights. Like if you're just looking at it, you're watching a vehicle in a video, you're like, oh, that's not that deep. 32 inches is not that deep. 37 inches is not that deep. You say you're in 3 feet of water, oh, 36 inches isn't that deep. That's like if you're on your house and you're standing down here and looking up at the house, oh, that's not that tall. But then when you get on the house and you look down, you're like, wow, that's actually a long ways down. That's how it feels when you are submerged clear up to here, 37-inch water. You know, that's over the rockers. You know, over here, 37 inches is like right to the top of this rocker. So all the way down the Jeep, everything all the way around is in 37 inches of water, if that's the depth of the water that you're fording. And keep in mind, Mirror Lake's not like a creek crossing where you go through that deep of water, but it's only for a couple feet. It's hundreds of yards long that you go through Mirror Lake in two, and then even a small section in the middle when the water's this high. I'll walk up. One of the Broncos that we have with us is coming next. And about this time of year, we start crossing the lake. Everybody starts asking me if this is okay, if this is legal, what we're doing. And the road goes around this lake. So we're staying on the road. We put those big posts in. It's telling you where to be on this road. The road goes around the lake. And every year there's not an outlet. It just seeps through the bank over on the other side and then comes out. So as more water flows in than can go out, this lake will cover the road. Then it'll gradually recede, sometimes 7 to 10 inches a week. It'll recede that much. So in a couple weeks, this will be passable for anybody that doesn't want to maybe take a risk through driving in really deep water. But it's not illegal. We're not driving off the road. We quite literally are staying the trail by driving through the water on the road. I remember doing this in the 80s as a kid. My dad was in a CJ5 Jeep and it was coming in the doors when I was a little kid here. So it's been like this for decades. Every year in the spring when people see videos of this, they get real concerned. This is actually the road. That's how deep it is. My floor is wet, so it's coming in the floor. You saw it there on the front tire. Let's go look up here on this side. We're heading back, so we'll go back to the other side, see what those guys are doing over there, and then head back over the pass and see how much is already melted. One more detail why we're on the subject. This is not a waterfording video, and it's certainly not a snorkel video. I'm not trying to prepare you for deep river crossings or, you know, other areas where you can get in deep water. This video is very specific to Tincup Pass and then Mirror Lake afterwards, because if you're going to complete the pass anytime until late season and early fall, you're probably going to drive through a little bit of water, or in this case early season, a lot of water. Now I showed you out here on the tire, you know, where 37 inches of water was about here. And then, like I said, everything else is in the water up to that depth. And usually the first comment I get is, well, I have a snorkel, it's not a big deal. Well, a snorkel means that it would go on the end of this. This is my intake, and it's clear up here on top of the motor. It's as high as you can possibly get, right underneath the hood and right underneath that hood vent there too. So this is the highest part of the motor, is actually my intake. But it would mean attaching a tube here and then coming over here to the side, either going out up through here or out the side and then up higher on the Jeep up here so that it's higher up in the air. But you can see there's no way that the water would get that high to be able to go into the intake. Really what a snorkel does for you in cases of water crossing is that if you went off a really steep embankment and the front of the Jeep just dropped down into the ground and you submerged the front end of your vehicle in the water before you leveled out, then if your air cleaner was like up here in the front, it could get submerged in water. So you would be taking it then up to the side of the Jeep there to avoid that situation. But that's not Mirror Lake. It is a very gradual entrance and exit, and it's very, very flat. So what you're dealing with in Mirror is being in the water for long periods of time. And if you have a solid axle like this, how good are your axle seals? From where that axle goes into the tube there, do you have outer axle seals? Do you have inner axle seals in the pinion? Do you have dual axle seals where you put an outer one in and an inner one? How well is that? Look right there, that's my alternator. So if you look at the alternator relative to the edge of the tire here, that alternator gets submerged, the lower part of it, in water. Can your electrical system handle that? Where's the alternator on your vehicle? You know what I mean? Where are the breather tubes? How high are your axle breathers? How high is your transmission breather? How high is your transfer case breather? Where are those located? You know, even if you had a snorkel, but your axle seals are leaking and you get water in your diffs and you contaminate that and you have problems on your drive home. What if you get water in your transmission because your breathers aren't high enough? Like mine are located over here on the firewall. It's kind of hard to see. There's these clear tubes over here by the transmission dipstick. So that's the breather for the transmission, and the transfer case are clear up that high with my air cleaner. And then my diff breather is over here. It's kind of hard to see. It's right there, just below the sight tube on the reservoir tank. But that's clear up here, just on the inside of this fender well. So, you know, higher than where the water would be. The rear diff breather, then it goes clear up here to where like my fuel cell is in the back. So everything that I have is done to forward water that way. Like the computer on this Jeep is right here. That's substantially above that, you know, 30 to 40 inch water line. The battery over here, you know, the electronics for my fan, all my other wiring is a lot higher. That is an electric 2-speed Taurus fan, so I can actually turn that off in cab. That's the other thing, is if your fan starts throwing water, you know, if it gets in high enough to where the fan then here starts hitting that water and spraying it all over your engine, you'd have major issues that way too. So have an electric fan that has a high and a low, but it also has an off setting, is very beneficial for crossing deep water. So just some side notes. If you watch the Mirror Lake videos that we've done before, you know all these things because I talk about them a lot. Is this the first comment I'll always get is, well, I have a snorkel, so I should be fine. That's not the only thing that you should be thinking about. And I can show you on my other Jeep over here. You know, if you look on the back here, right down here on the plate on the bottom, it says water fording, 32.5 to 33.6. It's just because sometimes these Jeeps come with factory with 33s or 35s, or they have a little bit of varying lift height. So stock form, if you had the 35s in this certain configuration, you could go to 33.6. Now, obviously, I have a lift on this vehicle and then bigger tires, so it'd be quite a bit higher for this one to be able to ford water. But that's what it's taking into account. It's taking into account your electrical connections. It's taking into account everything that I just said. What you're sealed up to are your, plugins, watertight, to be able to ford that deep of water. So think about those things before you go plunging into Mirror Lake. Thank you to everybody in the crew that came out to make this happen. That was a big day, a lot of work. A lot of people put in a really good effort. Thanks for watching through one of these volunteer projects where we go out and have a good day in the mountains, good time with good people, and get some wheeling in at the same time. Maybe now you know a little bit more about why we do that. You got a good idea about Mirror Lake, maybe even what to look for in a water crossing, and whether or not you could evaluate your vehicle and if you would feel comfortable crossing deep water, or at what level you would feel comfortable crossing in the future. And everybody has a good time out and everybody stays safe this summer.